Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. In this video, I'm going to talk around two topics. One is audit logs within Entra ID, and the same is applicable for Microsoft Azure as well, right? The second one is not single, but majorly the sign-in logs, right? So it is going to capture all those endpoints, sign-in activities, be it from user applications where user is trying to access any particular application or any service. Second is going to be any application, right? So let's say one application is trying to connect to another applications, a kind of service principal or an application which is going to trying to interact with, right? Now, these are the topics which are broader in nature for themselves or each of those self, right? And if I have to discover each of those topics broadly, then there's a lot to explain and lot to go through in the deep dive, right? But I'm not going to get into each of the deep dive, but definitely I'm going to cover you how you can filter out sign-in logs as well as, for example, based on IP address or applications, as well as many other different filters that we have in the sign-in logs. At the same time, on the audit logs as well, we would have different filters and different categories to search out, and then we would be able to identify all those applications, right? Along with the application areas or criteria, how we should be able to find it, and then probably it's going to help us to make sure, okay, so whatever the audit logs we are seeing, and we can filter out those are correct one and those are not missing the appropriate details, right? So let me share my screen quickly here, and I'll simply uh, jump onto the each of the service or each of the capability of Entra ID. So I'm going to show you it from Entra ID portal, right? And then which is basically identity uh, from Microsoft 365 context. And if you are moving or going to the Entra ID portal from the Azure portal, then you would be searching Microsoft Entra ID, and then you will land into the page, and then from there you will have to search all those options, right? So let me share my screen and we can simply go ahead and do that. All right. So you can see that I am on Entra portal, right? And from here, I have landed it to this portal from identity across Microsoft 365 portal, right? And this is the first new page, but the real feature that we wanted to explore and see is this one, which is monitoring and health. So under that, there are these two options, sign-in logs and audit logs. There are other options or features and capabilities as well. But for now, I'm going to discover and talk more on these two, right? Similarly, we can get into these two options from Azure portal as well. So I'll show you that as well. So once we are on Azure portal, we would just simply search for Microsoft Entra ID, right? So once we search for this one, it's already over here, so it's easy for me to click, but it might not show up for your case or in your case, and that is why you would need to find it out. And under monitoring, you would see a bunch of options similar to all those, but here we see few of the different options, which includes log analytics and diagnostic settings in the context of Azure, right? So if in case I wanted to go to sign-in logs, I would simply come here and click on sign-in logs, and it is going to show all those logs which are signed in and whatever the activities will happen, right? And there are different types of logs, which includes user sign-in interactive, user sign-ins, non-interactive, service principal sign-ins, and managed identity sign-ins. So this is in Azure context, right? So user sign-in interactive and non-interactive, right? So now there might be a question, what are those, right? So wherever you see non-interactive, that means that is not between the user and the application or service, right? So that's a non-interactive between user and application. That's non-interactive for users, and it is between service to service or one service to another service. That's what it is called as non-interactive, right? So here you can see user sign in non-interactive. That means if I have to expand this one, we can see that whatever the communication was happening between user to service and service to another service, right? So flow is going to be like user is trying to hit that service or access that service, but user is not directly accessing that third service, which is interacting with the service that I as an end user trying to access, right? So even if I try to access and log in, it is trying to sync up or check up whether this service is accessible to this user with the right set of credentials and with the permissions associated to it, then it's going to allow it, right? And it's going to be capturing all of that details, right? So this way it is going to be a non-interactive for users or user identities, right? So this way it is going to be classified and provided, right? So this is on the non-interactive side. On the interactive side, we can come back, and interactive is going to be opposite to non-interactive. Let's say I have this bunch of logs over here, and if I have to check any of these logs, I would see a bunch of details under the basic info tab over here, including the user principal name, user ID, and all other details, what application I as an end user try to access. It was Azure portal, then the application ID and everything together, right? At the same time, you can see other bunch of tabs, including locations, device info, and if there are any policies applied or disabled or whatever is the status, right? So this is something interactive. Right now, it is similar for service principal and managed identity as well, right? Because whatever the communication is happening between service principals, how they are interacting with the respective service or providers, that's going to be captured in this logs or sign-in activities, and that's going to be shown up, right? So you can see that here is the Cloud Hub application, and this is the resource where it is interacting with, right? And using client secrets. So service principal name was this one, Client Hub, right? So this was interacting with Microsoft Graph, right? So this is purely backend one, which does not have any interaction with the end users or any actions relying on end users. But whenever there is a requirement of accessibility, right, it gives or tries to access that respective workload in the cloud, and then it's going to provide the access or accessibility. All right, so this is a responsible similarly for managed identity sign-ins as well. So for now, there is no record or results, as as you can see, there is nothing much over here, or I have not created any managed identity. That's why there is no any records available, right? So same view can be seen from the Entra portal over here. And in terms of filters, we can say, and we have option over here to reset filters. And to apply the real filters, right, we need to go to sign-ins over here. And from here, we can simply hit the reset filter, right? And then we can simply go ahead and filter it out. Now here we can see only default filters. There's a add filter button over here, and I have a bunch of options. Let's say I wanted to find something with respective IP address or status or client app or conditional access, right? So I can see, let's say, IP address seen by resource. So I need to give something like this. Now I have given this IP address, but I don't have any because this is just a dummy address, right? Similarly, I can try with a bunch of other. Here is also another application or IP address directly, right? So IP address. is equals to particular value that I need to give it, and then it's going to filter it out, right? So this way I can filter out not only IP address, but you can see that there are so many different filters, right? And this is going to really help us to make sure which application using what protocol. Say I wanted to check authentication protocols for different applications. Probably I would just select all and hit apply. And whatever are the protocols being applied and used by the users, it's going to simply be showing up all those results over here, right? I can simply discard this filter as well. And at the same time, I can simply filter it out as per my requirement so that I can make sure all those filters, all those search are giving me the appropriate results, right? Now you might be saying, okay, I have records of more than a month. How would I search it? How do I export it, right? So currently all of these sign-in logs and audit logs activities are pulled over here in this activity or in this page for last 30 days, right? And we can export it, but definitely if in case we wanted to export for more than 30 days, then there is another export setting or configuration that we need to do this, which is this one, right? So this is additional configurations that we need to do with Azure Log Analytics workspace. And from there, we need to put all those logs into storage account, event hub for event generations and any other activities. And then if in case we wanted to search or use any of these filters or tabs, whatever details we wanted to get out to the Azure storage account, and then from there we can export for more than 30 days. But by default, it only allows us to export and get all of these details for last 30 days, right? Here you can see that last 1 month, last 7 days, and last 24 hours, and custom range. So even custom range is also for last 30 days. It does not go beyond 30 days, right? So I have selected 14 May and I'll select probably this time until today's date and probably this time. Okay. So let me filter it out. Okay, it is not allowing me, I believe. So that must be after 30 days. That is strange. Okay, and then hit apply, right? So if we do this date range filter, then we would see all those logs or sign-in activity logs for last 30 days only, right? That's the default one we can download once that is ready. So we have two options to download, which is one with a JSON format and second is with CSV file, right? So upon download, we can simply go ahead and analyze each of those logs and make sure those are or those were expected, or if not, then simply probably we would have to take appropriate actions, right? How user was trying to access particular application, whether user was accessing any application from non-managed unmanaged devices, whether user was accessing any confidential details or anything from unknown location where it's supposed to be locked out by the policy and that's not happening, right? So that is something we should analyze, and definitely it's going to give us the clarity whether we should take the right set of actions and whether we wanted to simply lock it down, right? So based on all of those activities and all of those scenarios, we can definitely take the appropriate actions. But for that, we would need to analyze each of those logs, right? And upon that, we would see what is happening. Now, you might be saying that why do we need to analyze the logs, right? Why we can't implement SIM or source solutions to get all those logs dumped into the CMN solutions and then run the automation on those logs if user tries to access something confidential on unmanaged device or unknown location. And if there is such activity like suspicious activity or maybe something like that, then that activity should be blocked. Yep. So that is also another way to do it. That's also another great capability where we can simply lock down the access levels and users should not be able to access any confidential or business applications or systems and data, whichever we really don't want to let them use from any unwanted locations or areas or IP addresses or applications or anything, right? So there are different scenarios to take it, but it totally depends on how organization wants to make that happen for their ease of doing activities and keep track of all those activities, right? So this is pretty manual way where I, as an admin or IT pro, I would just go here and download logs and then try to analyze each one by one. That's going to be very time consuming as well, right? And no one would likes to do that because it's time consuming and just have to look at the screen and then check what is happening, which user was trying to access what and how it did happen, right? So that's something which is not really right way to do it, right? So this was all about the sign-in logs. And next is audit log, right? So similarly on the audit logs as well, we would see bunch of actions and activities, whatever is happening across the tenant, right? So this is going to show us similar to sign-in logs for last 30 days, right? We have a bunch of filters over here at the top, and you can see on the directory as well as custom security attribute level as well, right? So majorly you would see on a directory level for a whole tenant, we would see all those logs on each of the service or each of the applications of it's going to record everything across the tenant, whatever is happening. For example, you are adding users to a group, it's going to make that record happen or that record will show up over here. You are creating brand new user, that user is going to be created and then its record is going to be shown up over here, right? So all of those activities would be showing up here. You can see there is a download button as well, along with export data settings, right? So even for that also you can make sure whichever option you wanted to get to the audit logs and then analyze it for next or future usage, right? And then filters, right? So these are the different filters where status target initiated by actors or user agent. So initiated by actor is going to give you the complete details. Let's say I wanted to filter out who has done what. Let's say this is the user. I wanted to see what did this user, right? It did not show up anything because the filter was not correct, right? So let's say I need to give the full name and I would simply give it an email address and let's search with that. Perfect. You can see that there is one of the activity which says or which happened today. This is B2C authentication, validated user authentication. You can see the complete details. And if I have to go more or deeper, I would simply click on this date time here and you can see bunch of other details of this activity or sign in or audit logs basically. Right. So this was the activity where token is valid, right? Why this token is valid? Because user try to access that particular application from the Azure portal, which is the user, this one. This user try to access the IP address of this, and you can see other details over here as well, right? So this way it is really going to be helpful for filter out and then make sure we are exporting and seeing all those. Also, you can see there are different filters on the service level, category level. You can see these are the service level. Let's say PIM, then hit apply. There is no results, right? Let's say I wanted to filter out with my apps. I'll just hit it and then there are no results at all. So by default, it's going to set all for all of these filters. At the top, you can see over here, and under activity, you can give it a name and search for that respective activity. What activity you wanted to track down and see, right? So there are so many activities you would see that, let's say, create issuance policy, right? So apply. There is no result because we have not given it a right value to filter out, right? And that is why it is not giving any activity there. Let's say create a group setting and then hit apply, because we need to give it a right value. It's going to provide us the results with that respective value, right? So this way it is going to be providing us the records and details. So basis on that, you can simply filter it out and search all those results, right? So even at the top here, we have manage view, and you can also give the feedback if in case you wanted to give any feedback that you feel that this view or something is not right here. That feedback goes to Microsoft, and definitely they would take it as a feedback for this view improvement or the feature or the product improvement or all of that capabilities, right? So this way definitely is going to be helpful to Microsoft as well as customers, right? So these are the two categories which are really helpful and important to analyze as an IT pro and someone who wants to make sure each and every action is being tracked, but still they wanted to identify what's happening in the tenant, and everything is been captured as and when they wanted to go back and see, right? Because it's not something, if I try to do something and anyone can do any activity, but if you don't have the right set of logs, who did what, then it is pretty difficult to identify and take the appropriate actions, right? So that is why we should definitely be using audit logs along with sign-in logs. Sign-in logs are majorly for seeing the sign-in activities, who is accessing and using applications and what level of access they do have. And audit logs are going to give us the activities of the users, right? So based on that, we would be able to see it and find it and how we can take it further, right? So yeah, that's all I wanted to show you and talk about it. I know this is not going to be the full or complete and deep dive on each of these topics, but whatever is covered in this video is going to be helpful for you to at least start and drip down. And similarly here as well, we have last 1 month's of filter to filter it out, and then you can see the details or the audit logs, right? So yeah, that's all for this video. I wanted to talk and show about, and let me know if you have any feedback for this, any questions, anything, or any doubts, and I would be happy to help, and I'd be happy to answer any of those questions you might have, and would be able to help and collaborate on any of those, right? So yeah, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends and people around you so that they can also learn and know about it. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well, right? So that's going to give you the every new video that whenever it's uploaded and is available on the channel. So yeah, that's all for this video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.